So, hello guys, my name is Pavan Chandra. You're watching Learning with Pavan. Today, we are going to talk about force and friction. So, first of all, what is force? So, force is nothing but an energy which can change the state of rest of a body. For example, if this box is at rest, then for example Mike here is pushing the box. He is pushing the box. Then before he started pushing the box was at rest. It was at rest. So since he started pushing the box, pushing the box, it started to move in this direction. So that is force, and force is the same in pulling. And force changes the state of an object, and it also changes the velocity. It changes the velocity too. And it is an external agent. So what is an external agent? An external agent is not from the object itself, it is from externals. It's from outside. It's not inbuilt, it's from outside. For example, the box does not move by itself. It doesn't have tiny legs that make it go. There is something that's pushing and something that's making it move in some direction, and that is an external force. In this case, force is an external agent. It is an external agent. Force is external agent. So what is the force? What is the definition of a force? Force is nothing but an agent, external agent, that can change the state of rest of a body. For example, if you kick Mike, back there, he will go and fall onto the box. After that, he will be very angry at you for kicking at him. So what did you do? You pushed him. You see, in force there are some types. There is the most basic are pulling and pushing. The most basic types are pulling and pushing. So what are you doing here with Mike? You are pushing him. And what is Mike doing to the box? He is pushing the box. Now let's see an example of pulling. So, you know that time when you are opening a door? Most of the time when you are inside the room, you pull the door. And when you are outside the room, you push the door. You understand? So that is basically force. Now let's head on towards friction. Now friction is also a type of force. So here you see Mike is again pushing the box, but this time he has become sick and he has to be and he has been admitted in a hospital. So an invisible spirit is doing the job of pushing this box. So it's pushing. What is it doing? It is pushing. Now this, you see this, it is friction. Friction acts opposite to the force you are applying. For example, if you are pushing this way, then friction acts in this way. When you are pushing, but when you are pulling, you see, when you are pulling, if you are pulling in this direction, then it is going to act opposite in this direction. And friction is also responsible for a moving ball to stop it, not by hitting a wall or any collision, but just stop on the ground. Like if a ball is going like this towards here, and then it suddenly stops, it's just lying there flat on the ground. So what is responsible for stopping the ball? Friction. Friction is responsible for stopping the ball. And another example is, sandpaper or a file. It's that thing that you use to grind wood and other stuff. So that sandpaper has tiny sand particles or salt particles which produce friction, and that friction is so strong that it scrapes off some bits of the surface that you are rubbing it against. So if you take sandpaper and try pushing or pulling it on a piece of wood, like this is a piece of sandpaper and you're trying to push or pull it on a piece of wood, then it is really hard to exert pressure on it and push it, because there is friction. There is friction trying to stop you from pushing or pulling. So what does friction do? The most simple answer is, it tries to maintain object at rest. But in space there is no friction. Why? Because you see, friction needs two surfaces to be in contact. For example, if you try moving a sandpaper in the air, it is not as hard as moving it while it is touching a wooden block. Why? Because there is not that much surface stopping it. But since you're moving it slowly, it seems like it goes slowly. It goes fine and smooth. But when you ramp up the speed, then the friction also goes up. Even with the air that we don't see, there are tiny particles of air, and if you go through them very slowly, then it will be fine. But when you try to go through them very fast, like very very fast, then the particles will make a barrier, and that's why you'll hear sound barrier. Sound barrier appears when an object starts to go above the speed of sound. The speed of sound is 248 something meters per second. So at that speed, even the air molecules, which are so far apart, start to condense and form a barrier. And like if you are a soft bodied object, you will be obliterated because of the force. Like you are being this, and you are being pressed against the barrier at an incredible velocity, which is almost equal to the speed of sound. That is why going past the speed of sound is very hard in general, because there is friction. And now in space there is no air, no nothing. It's just absolute vacuum. Now, in that absolute vacuum, you can go as far as you want and as fast as you want because there is no friction. Otherwise, our planets would have stopped by now. You see, our planets are rotating in a circular and elliptical fashion, and if there was friction in space, then our planets would have stopped spinning, stopped rotating around the sun, and would have just plummeted into the sun itself. So that is why friction does not exist in space. And the advantages of friction are you can brake. You can brake. You see, when you're riding a bicycle or driving a bicycle or a car, you suddenly come across an obstacle like a wall. Then you immediately hit the brakes, and since there is friction, it stops you from poof going into a wall. But when there is ice, there is very little friction, so brakes are not that effective. So you'll bang into the wall. And the disadvantages of friction are it makes you require more energy. It requires more energy to push an object if there is friction. For example, friction also works over a surface area. If there's a lot of surface area, then friction will be high. And if there's very little surface area, then the friction will be less. So you'll find rolling a round ball easier than pushing a square because there is more friction, and this round ball counteracts the friction by rolling. So those are the disadvantages of friction. So anyway guys, that's it for today. I'll see you again next time. So, and actually, if you like our videos, then please consider liking, sharing, subscribing, and hitting the bell icon. And make sure that it's not like this. Make sure that it is not like this. It shouldn't be like this. It should be like this. And there should be notifications coming to you when we upload a new video, and it'll help you out a lot. So anyway, that's it for today. I'll see you again next time.